Hi everyone, welcome back to SwitchUp. My name's Mark Walker, and firstly, congratulations to the person in the top pin comment. You won a game from last week's video. To enter, all you need to do is leave comments, and I'll pick a winner each and every week. If you've come away from Zelda Tears of the Kingdom just to watch this video, then I salute you. I myself have done exactly that. How are you finding it? I know it's not for everyone, but man, I'm absolutely loving my time. Thanks to all those people that have been buying games using our website, switchup.gg. We've got our SwitchUp tokens, and you'll still get your gold coins, so it's almost like getting double gold coins when you make your purchases and you support us. And someone correctly pointed out that Tears of the Kingdom is about the price of what? 30 Saveloys. So you could be about to save some serious money, in a way. Alright, what are the games on sale this week? Well, let's find out. First up, we've got Fuga Melodies of Steel. If you're not sure, the second one just came out. This has elements of Advance Wars, and it has a cool system whereby you and your fellow tank crew can become better acquaintances, so you can do little almost story missions for them and bring them the things they want, and it'll build up their relationship and improve their synergies between each other, because you'll need that in the battles. You get to choose where you place them in your tank, and yeah, as I say, they have different synergies for you to pay attention to. This is a really enjoyable game. You choose different routes as you progress through the storyline, and you're looking at about 20 to 30 hours of gameplay. As I say, keep your eyes out for a review of the sequel because, yeah, great series, and probably flies under the radar with Zelda just coming out. That one is 40% off until May the 21st. Then, to appease my 2-year-old, we've got Farm Tycoon, which is down to the ridiculous Barjan price of 95% off. Apologies to that bloke and his wife who don't like the word Barjan. At this point, I don't know if I can actually stop saying it. I will try. But Farm Tycoon from Sonka is a fun little farming simulator game at just 89 pence until June the 11th, and it uses their 2XD rendering engine, which I would love to see used in something a little more akin to City Skylines. If you've played that, I think it would work really nicely. You obviously have to worry about your crops, the different animals that you're going to breed, as well as the weather, and in all honesty, you also had to worry about crashes because there were a few issues when it first came out. There's still a couple of niggly ones there, but overall it's much better than it was. When Monster Harvest launched, it was a broken mess, but fair play, developer Maple Powered Games have worked on patching it up, and it's currently just £3.74. And if you like the idea of using magical slimes to mutate your crops and farming with mutants, then this one will appeal to you. You have to collect little planimal companions. It almost has a Pokemon element to it, and there are a number of seasons, and it certainly borrows more than a little in terms of its aesthetic from Stardew Valley, but now that it's working, it might be worth checking it out. That sale goes on until May the 21st, and there is a physical of this as well. It's just 1.6 gigabytes to download. Okay, this next one, it's almost a recommendation for about 20% of you. It's called The Red Lantern, and I reviewed it on the channel, and it describes itself as a roguelite survival game, but essentially it's like it's almost like a sled simulator. You're going along on your sled, don't have a huge amount of control, but it's all about loads of different encounters, and you're trying to get to this specific location. And there'll, as I say, be lots of different encounters that you experience, and you have to make decisions, and sometimes you'll die and you'll be going through again. Honestly, in terms of its gameplay, it wasn't as refined as I would like, but it's still, as far as these kind of experiential games go, left me with, I don't know, quite a positive enough feeling that now that it's reduced 60%, I think there'll be one or two of you that kind of connect with its style of play. Think something like Road 96, but not quite as good, and that gives you a bit of an idea about this one. That sale goes on until the 22nd of May, and the download size is 5.2 gigs. It's nice to finally mention Elderand. Now, we played this at launch, but we didn't get time to do a review of it. It's a fun action RPG adventure game with platforming elements, and it's not that long. It took me around about 7 hours to finish it. What I would say is that it has so much competition on Switch in this market that some of its aspects just aren't as good as some of its competition. Now, on the RPG side, you can customize your appearance as well as your stats and skills, and I really did like the world design. I think that's probably one of the strongest elements of it. There are a few collectibles to find here and there, and in case you're wondering, it is, I guess, a Metroidvania in terms of its design, but all draped with that Lovecraftian mythos. It's currently down to £12, the original equivalent. That's 33% off until May the 28th. Alright, I'm going to give Black Legends a bit of a mention here. I was so excited for this one, but it launched in a terrible state on the Switch. Now, it has had a load of patches, and I revisited it in an all patched up episode. I would say 90% of the issues that I experienced at launch were gone. What I will say to you though is, in a 3-hour play session, just going back over the patch, etc., I did experience one crash still, so I did say when I did my patched up video, hey look, it's still got a crash, the developers still need to do a bit of work there. But if you're after a turn-based tactical game, a bit like XCOM, but set in like a Victorian London with 15 different playable classes, I actually loved the game at the time of review, but I was so annoyed by the performance. It runs so much better now. And you've got that 17th century city to work your way around with loads of missions and quests, and that tactical combat is really nice. The way that you use different weapons is important, the different skills, as well as the positioning of you and your enemies. And I loved how seamlessly you enter combat instances just by bumping into them, which in turn allows you to avoid them as well. Yeah, it's a fun game, and it's a shame they launched it in such a state, honestly. But I think I'm happy at this price, £7.74, that's 50% off your regional equivalent, and it's around about an 8.5 gigabyte download. That sale goes on until May the 18th. It feels quite surreal recommending Ark Survival Evolved these days, but if you didn't see it, it got completely rebuilt from the ground up about 6 months ago, and we did a video on it, and it's just night and day. The engine's seen huge improvements, the online now works, there's loads of new modes, there's a ton of new content, and it doesn't look like a turd on Switch anymore, which is delightful. Ark Survival Evolved, the game itself, is actually really fun, especially if you've got a group of you. It's essentially a survival co-op game in a world filled with dinosaurs, and you can tame them, have them as mounts, build up your base, go on raids against other people. I mean, there's tons to do here. It's just I wonder if it's too little too late for most people. Still, for £9, if you and your mate want something that you can play forever, then Ark Survival Evolved is a nice little option. That sale goes on until May the 16th. Do not sleep on Lil Gator Game, which I don't know if it's on sale in the EU regions, but it's definitely in the US at 30% off. This one's published by Platonic Friends, and it's absolutely delightful. It features the titular Gator, and he's essentially trying to cheer up his sister, who's become, how shall we say it, dejected by the vagaries of life. And so he goes about, just trying to remind her what it's like to be a child again. You're carrying out little errands, you're kind of wobbling your way around this island, gathering up your friends, rebuilding a fort in the middle of it, and it's a smile in a game. It will appeal to fans of things like Akka, Alba, a wildlife adventure. There's absolutely no pressure, there's no stress in it, and it has a delightful little soundtrack. That one's 30% off, as I say, until May the 16th. Metal Gear Solid and Hot Shots Part 2 fans, you really should have bought UnMetal already. If you're not sure, it's actually developed by Unepic Fran, who is certainly famous in the industry, but this one almost combines old school Metal Gear Solid with an action adventure game, and it's done really well. It's almost like taking the mick, but at the same time it's actually really enjoyable in terms of its combat. There are some very strange boss fights and loads of references to games, things like Street Fighter. And although it's a bit on the nose, it is one of the few games where I've really laughed out loud. That one's £8.99 or your regional equivalent until May the 17th. If you're after a bit of a hidden gem co-op game, then I'd recommend Pode. You can play it single or multiplayer with 2 of you on one Nintendo Switch, and it's a puzzle adventure. Now, what I will say is the soundtrack to this one is created by Austin Wintory, and if you know, you know, he is one of the greatest composers for video game music of our time. The experience and the game itself has some quite taxing puzzles. I never found them that difficult, but I love the visual style, and it really plays with colour and light and dark. A smaller indie this one, but I think it looks and plays nicely, and it's well worth it at half price. Pode is on sale until May the 21st. The hidden gem this week has to go to Vaporum Lockdown. Now, Vaporum was reviewed for us way back in the day, and it's a great game, but Lockdown released in one of those times, a bit like now really, when a huge release has just come out and no one pays attention to anything else, understandably. But this is almost like an old school first-person RPG with a mixture of one of those dungeon crawlers. There are puzzles in here as well that kind of differentiate it from just a standard first-person dungeon crawler, and you'll be customizing your exoskeleton with different weapons, items and gear. What I would say is perhaps check out the first game. As I say, we've got a review of it, and at the moment that's on an 80% sale down to £3.99, so it would give you a good idea of this one, but I do think Vaporum Lockdown is a better game overall. It clocks in at £6.45, that's 66% off until May the 25th. On to the most important part of any SwitchUp sales video, and that is the Saveloy Selection. These are a few games that are about the price of a UK glorious red sausage known as a Saveloy, and they may be the only things we can afford. First up, we've got Shovel Knight King of Cards, which is £2.39. That's 70% off. It's the lowest price it's ever been, and it comes from Yacht Club Games, who just make brilliant titles. Don't be fooled by the visuals, which by the way I think are amazing. This time around you get to control the King Knight as he goes around defeating things, gathering up the cards, and I guess that's its niche. It combines the old school Shovel Knight gameplay with that card based section, and you'll find new cards in the levels. Yeah, very cool. And for that price, I mean, you might as well add that one to your collection. You're looking around about 8 to 15 hours if you want to do everything, and that sale goes on until May the 15th, so you haven't got long. You've got that lovely adventure game, The Way Remastered. It's had a few mentions over the years, and although it goes a bit janky at the end, it's still so worth it for that story. Do you know what? For me, it's worth it for those first few minutes. Like the first 10 minutes of this game, I just, it's so good. Something tragic happens, I'll just say that, and then the next few steps are like, yeah, just seeing the fallout of it and the way it's depicted with this pixel art, it's just chef's kiss. Really enjoy this one for 89 pence. It's 93% off. Clocks in at around about a gigabyte. It's well worth it. It feels a little bit like Flashback and some of those older games, but it does feature things like HD rumble, improvements to the visuals and graphics, and at that bargain price until June the 11th. Yes, the sequel is almost upon us for Jenny LeClue, Detective Ooh, and it's currently down to its price of $1.99 again until May the 14th. A really funny adventure game set in and around this town where you play as Jenny the young aspiring detective, but there's some good voicing acting in here. It's very funny, and it does feel like something that could have come from the team over at Double Fine. Last but not least then, and it's also the kids pick, we have The Big Journey, which is so much like Loco Roco, if you remember that game, and it's just £1.99. You tilt the world to move a cute little cat around. It gets more tricky as you work through the 30 different levels, and it's got a really nice soundtrack. Super simple and very cheap. Alright, time to get back to Zelda Tears of the Kingdom for sure. Let me know what games you've been picking up, if you've picked up any. I'm sure a lot of you haven't got any money left, but as always, if you do, please use our website, switchup.gg, so you can save a little bit more money, and it also supports us. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys!
See ya!